Real quick, I want to do a fair use. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners, who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Akhwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This your brother Ram Yahawada with the lesson.
New earthquake warnings coming out for the Pacific Ring of Fire and specifically the west coast of the United States. And we've had some major earthquakes hitting in the last 24, 48 hours. The Philippines being rocked over and over and over. We're seeing earthquakes in Russia, also in the Kamchatka Peninsula, down south by the Drake Pass. We're talking about 6.0, 7.0, almost 8.0 earthquakes hitting over and over. Let's take a look at the latest headlines so that way you can see it for yourself here. Coming out yesterday, the West Coast's most dangerous faults could rupture together, affecting the entire region. These are the warnings we've been hearing from scientists lately, saying that it's not just the San Andreas Fault, but it's the San Andreas Fault also with other faults that could rupture one after the other in a symphony of earthquakes that could equate to a major earthquake, a megaquake. They're saying, unlike the which that they had thought of before, they said this could be absolutely devastating. Now, in addition to that, we're also hearing just a couple of hours ago today, another 6.2 magnitude earthquake jolts the Philippines. There's video footage, photos coming out of the devastation as the Philippines are just being rocked with one earthquake after the other. In addition to that, coming out today as well, magnitude 5.8 earthquake has hit Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula, as I mentioned. Earthquake, a magnitude 5.7, strikes Ethiopia today as well. And I mentioned to you yesterday, as soon as it had come out, a massive 7.8 magnitude earthquake struck the Drake Passage. There was actually tsunami warnings issued. They were later waved off, but we're going to be taking a look at all of the video footage and the articles coming out as to what's going on right now around the world with earthquakes. The Philippines just being hit with one earthquake after the other. And again, let me know your thoughts. It just seems like there are a lot of major earthquakes happening. Is this coming from the sun? Are these natural causes? We heard back in March of 2025 scientists saying this. Is this a warning from God? Is this nuclear tests that are going bad, underground tests we had heard in the Kamchatka Peninsula by Russia? Or is this man-made, weather manipulated? If you think this is natural, put a 1. You think this is God, put a 2. If you think this is some sort of underground nuclear tests, put a 3. If you think this is weather control, put a 4. I've been asking this question regularly as these are coming up because it just seems like every other...
Maybe it's all the above, right? Because everything is of the Most High. So even if they're doing it underground explosions, testing nuclear missiles, it's coming from the Most High. So that answers all the above.
Now, we are seeing massive earthquakes. It's not normal to see 8.8 earthquakes like we saw over in Russia, and then a 7.8 in Drake's Passage. These are some massive earthquakes. Now, every day, all the time, there are smaller earthquakes, many of which aren't even felt. 2, 3, 4 size magnitude earthquakes, but lately they have been massive. And that is why we've been seeing the warnings coming out about potential megaquakes that could hit. They're saying a symphony of fault lines erupting one after the other, causing some massive devastation. These are the warnings that are coming out. So, like I said, though, I'm going to be diving. Some pretty wild war threats coming out from Russia against the United States today, October the 8th, 2025. We're hearing threats of responses of retaliatory consequences as a result of the Tomahawk missiles that have been given over, and also nuclear bomb threats coming out as well. Now I'm going to share with you the latest headlines, and a lot of these coming out primarily from foreign media outlets. I've not seen the United States news media outlets reporting on this. Let me share with you what's going on. And as I mentioned, this as a result of the United States saying they would provide those long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine to use against Russia, and Russia not happy about this because that means that Moscow is directly in line for potential hits by Ukraine. Now, let's take a look at this. I just watched the video footage of Putin's meeting today. A lot coming out today, October the 8th, Wednesday, from Russia. Let's take a look at this so you can see it for yourself. Russian Foreign Ministry has now threatened the United States with severe consequences if it supplies Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. We're going to be covering the details. Russia will destroy the Tomahawk missiles and their launchers if the U.S. gives them to Ukraine, senior lawmakers say. And you can see here, we're going to dive into the details, but it says they will also find a way to retaliate against Washington or the United States. That hurts, the senior Russian lawmaker said Wednesday, today, October the 8th. Reading on, Russia says the momentum now for Ukraine peace deal has faded. They are blaming the United States for the worsening ties. Now look at this. Russia has now formally moved, as of 4 hours ago, to exit landmark U.S. plutonium disposal pact. They're saying they are getting rid of tons and tons of plutonium that they could use for nuclear weapons. They're saying they are removing themselves from that pact because they are now preparing any nuclear weapons that they have to potentially be ready for who knows what. And take a look, Russian state TV coming out today now threatens to bomb NATO country over the Tomahawk missiles. Things have really erupted as a result of Donald Trump coming out and saying that he's thinking about supplying them with these Tomahawks. And that is because, as I mentioned, take a look, there is now no safe zone in Russia. The U.S. Tomahawks put Russian bases within Ukraine's reach. And that is why today, October the 8th, 2025, we are seeing Russian President Vladimir Putin coming out in a statement, Russia coming out as well, issuing nuclear threats, bomb threats, retaliation. All right, so a big warning being issued today by Russia. October the 12th, we're hearing not too long ago, they had a major warning amid the potential of the United States supplying those long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. And they're saying they are very concerned right now. There is a missile alert out, and the United States and the UK, NATO, they have planes patrolling the Russian border. Things have escalated today. Let's go ahead and take a look at the articles so that way you can see it for yourself. Russia has issued a big warning amid the buzz that the U.S. may give those Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. Now, take a look. Kremlin warns the West over dramatic escalation moment in the Ukraine war. Russia attacks Ukraine's power grid overnight. Moscow expresses extreme concern over the U.S. Tomahawk missiles. But take a look at this. You can see coming out 3 hours ago, Zelensky and Trump talk amid possible Tomahawk delivery. And you can see here, Ukraine says that they would not strike Russian civilians if the U.S. provides Tomahawk missiles, Zelensky says. Zelensky vows to only use the Tomahawks against Russian military targets. Zelensky suggests Tomahawk missiles could make progress towards ending this war, vows to only use them on military targets. Right now, they're saying this is a very dramatic moment. Moscow is concerned over the possible Tomahawk missiles being supplied to Ukraine. This coming out just a little while ago. This could be a major shift in the war. They are very concerned because they believe that if the United States does in fact hand over those long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he will use them immediately and that Russia better find their bunkers, to which Russia said, just remember, Russia has nuclear warheads, the likes of which that your bunkers will not stop, that we will bust those bunkers with the bombs that we have. No one will be safe. And they also said, and remember to remind American civilians of this as well. So things have escalated significantly here today, Sunday, October the 12th. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest now.
Mr. Trump wants to send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. A new step of aggression, he says. He calls it strategy. I call it stupidity. Do you even understand what you are doing, Mr. Trump? These are not toys you can send across the world to impress people. Tomahawks have a range of 2,500 kilometers. Do you know what that means? It means Moscow is within reach. And when Moscow is in range, so is Washington. Mr. Zelensky, you are dragging your country into a fire that will burn everything around you. You keep asking for more weapons, more missiles, more destruction. But what have you achieved? Ruins, darkness, fear. Ukraine was once a proud land. Now it's a testing ground for Western experiments. And Mr. Trump, you speak of peace, but act like a man hungry for chaos. You say we may do it, we may not. That's not diplomacy. That's gambling with the lives of millions. And Mr. Trump, you speak of peace, but act like a man hungry for chaos. You say we may do it, we may not. That's not diplomacy. That's gambling with the lives of millions. We have no desire for war, but we will not kneel. Remember this, Mr. Trump. Remember this, Mr. Zelensky. When you play with fire, don't be surprised when it burns down your own house. So,
Yeah, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 12. The earth quaketh, and the foundations thereof, the sea riseth up with waves from the deep, right? So the guy was talking about the tsunamis because of the earthquakes and a tsunami threat, right? So this is basically, showing that there's definitely in the end times there's going to be a significant tsunami, right? Because the Lord said the waves will rise up from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, right? The water is going to be troubled, basically, right? From the earthquakes, ultimately from the missiles, from the ICBM missiles hitting. But, you're going to have earthquakes even before that, like this guy was speaking about. Significant earthquakes, and the fishes thereof also before Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and before the glory of his son, right? So this is meaning before the return of Yahweh Shai, right? These things are going to take place. Yeah, so this is Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. And as he sat down, he is Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls JC, sat upon the Mount of Olives. The disciples came unto him privately, which means, just between them, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? All right, questioning them. When is all these things going to happen? And what shall be the signs, right? The tokens, the signs of thy coming, right? Which is the second coming, right? Of Yahweh Shai. And of the end of the world, what means age, right? This age that we're living in now, right? The age of Esau, right? Because there's 3 Greek words for world, and it's cosmos, orchimene, and eon, or age, right? Which is just a time period, right? And Esau tells you that he will only going to rule a little season or short space, right? And he's coming. That end is basically now, as you can see. That's part of the signs, right? We're seeing the signs now, right? Yeah. So I'm come here to this Matthew 24 and 3. The transliterate, right, from the Greek into the Strong's English, so we could see, that world.
Strong's G165, Ion.
So it's an Ion, which is it says for forever, unbreakable age, perpetuity of time, eternity, which we know that's not it, because it's talking about it coming to an end. So to put that as the first thing when it's talking about a world coming to an end, so it's definitely not talking about a world that has an unbreakable age or forever or eternity. Doesn't make sense. The worlds, right? There is more than one world, right? That's what Hebrews 1, I believe. And it says universe, right? Which is, it's not talking about the universe, right? It's talking about a world. So the only thing, if you want to make sense out of what that is speaking about, it's the very last one, which I think they did that on purpose to try to get you to think, because most people don't think. They'll just read the first thing and maybe they'll read the second thing. And then even if they read the whole thing, the thing that you already read from the beginning is what sticks to your mind more than the actual answer, right? Making sense out of it. And it says a period of time, right? That's all it is. It's the period of time or age, right? It's just the period of time, age. Now that makes sense, right? Yeah, so this is the entomology online. And it says age. It says a late 13th, supposed to be century, long but infinite period in human history. Right. 'Cause, yeah, you have long infinite periods of human history, but time changes, rulership changes, right? You have one empire, the other empire goes down from being either conquered or whatever the reason may be why they're going down. Then another empire rises up, right? So long infinite time of human history. It says from the old French age, Asia, 12th century modern French, age, age, life, lifetime, lifespan, maturity, Slovakia. Says early Asia, 11th century, from Vulgar Latin says Atticulum, something like that. Source also of Spanish, Edad, Ita, and of Italy, right? Spanish, Edad, Italian, Ita, Portuguese, Edit, Identica, yeah, Identica, age, right? So like it says extended from the Latin is it atticum. It says period of life, right? Yeah, you live, you die, you have a period of life, right? Age, time, life, years, right? Time, life, eternity, age, right? Force, life, long life, eternity, right? I skipped over some of this, but it's just, yeah, a lot of that's redundant. But basically, just trying to get to the thing so you can see that age is not, because it's telling you eternity and forever. But if you really keep going, and you will see that, that's not accurate to say forever. But when it comes to human history, especially us being Jake, we'll say something was forever, and it really don't be forever. It's just like a figure of speech, right? Because it does seem like a long time. And if you think of how long we've been in slavery and how long Edomites have been ruling from the time of the so-called rebirth of Esau, it's a long time. But according to the Most High, that's a short period of time. It's only been a day, 2 days, going on the third day. So you're only talking 3 days later, according to the Most High, 2 to 3 days later. But just to show that it's not like forever, right? Even right here, if you come down right here, it says Stone Age. Well, there's supposedly, which we know that's when Esau was in the Caucasus Mountains, but supposedly Stone Age came, it's gone, it ain't here no more. Then you have the Dark Ages, which that was basically the same time period, which that's the time when Jake was ruling, right? But according to their history, the Dark Ages came and it went. It's not here, right? So though it's eternity or forever, that eternity came and went, right? Right? Dark Ages, also known as the Middle Ages, right? And it's not here. Yeah, so wondering when the end is, right? The end of an age is, right? Especially these heathen that's ruling over us, when are their kingdom or their time, their period, their of rulership is going to come to an end. And that's what our ancestors, our forefathers, basically the prophets, right, have always did, because Abraham was a prophet, right? Isaac was a prophet, and Jacob was a prophet, right? At the end of the day, these are things that they, our forefathers, the spirit that the Lord put within our forefathers, and I'm just saying that's just like a term, right? Because we don't have like a forefather thing like that, but just saying it that way, or the, how do you say it, the our foundational fathers, right? The foundational fathers should be a better way to say it. Says, then answered I and said, what shall be the pardon of sunder of times, right? See, the age, the times, a part of sunder, meaning that time, they had a space that they rule, but the so-called, what they tell you, the Stone Ages, right, came and it went. The Dark Ages, known as the Middle Ages, came and it went, which that time period was actually the same time as the Stone Ages, because Esau was in the Caucasus Mountains in that time. But and that's when Jake was ruling for the 1,000 years. Well, a little more than 1,000, but roughly about 1,000. So it says, and when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born, of him Jacob hand held fast the heel of Esau. Right? So this was time that Jacob and Esau was coming out of Rebekah's womb, and they were fighting within her stomach, right? Right? The war was since, before birth, right? In the womb, right? It's always been a battle. spiritually and also physically, right? He physically held his heel, right? And that's what's about to happen. For Esau is the end of the world, right? So at the end, Esau should be ruling, right? And we know that to be the self-proclaimed so-called white man is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Jacob is about to follow, right, in quick pursuit, right? And the Lord's going to explain how fast it's going to happen, right? As Esau falls, it says the hand of a man is betwixt, right between the heel and the hand. So as he's holding his heel, as he's going down, Jacob is rising up, right? You know, you ever, I don't know, have you ever been into a fight and you're on the ground and the person comes to kick you, but you grab his leg, and as you grab his leg, you stand up, pull his leg off from underneath him, so it basically sweeps him, and you dump him on his face. And as you're doing that, you're rising up and you're bringing him down like a pile drive. And that's what's happening to Esau. He's going to get pile drive face first into the ground as Jacob, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indians, known as Yasharahla, right? Dealing with the elect, she'll be standing upon their feet. And that's how the kingdom is going to go, because it's a continuous. His head's on the ground, his face, his arms, his legs, and then his heel is in your hand. And as his face is, and the rest of his body is hitting the ground, and you're still standing up, your hand is on his heel. So now you're the one who, now that rulership is coming in, right? See, it says the hand of a man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other questions Esdras asked us not. So that he's saying that's what he's basically breaking it down. That's how the rulership is. It's going to go directly right into the next rulership. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth in that manner. Yeah. So I'm going to come right here to continue on back into Matthew chapter 24, verse 4, and it says, and Yahushai answered and said unto them, right? And we're saying Yahushai, right? Because the letter J is only 400 to 500 years old, right? It's newly created during the Renaissance, like basically what we were saying. You know, the rebirth of Esau take heed that no man deceives you. See, and that's part of the deception, right? You have to take heed that no man deceive you, because what, right? The letter J was created by a man named Gian Giorgio Trissino, right? Yeah. So this is AI mode. This is an Italian Gregorian Gian Giorgio Trissino, not Giorgio Trissino, whatever. However, I guess they were saying that you spelled it wrong. Okay, was the first to explicitly distinguish the letter I and J. But there was no such thing as J. So how can you distinguish between something that didn't exist? He created it. But they're going to say he didn't create it, but you're going to see how they're the devil, because in no ancient alphabet was there a letter J. Or else you wouldn't have to wait to 1524 to come up with it. Right? You're talking about a long time in history. And then just all of a sudden, oh, well, you know what? No, he created it. But it says Giorgio did not invent the letter. That's what he's going to say. But instead, he advocated for a differentiation of the two forms. But J didn't exist, so there was no two forms. the letter J itself originated as, get this right, so you're going to see how they're much the devil, like how they can lie, as a flourish. What? How can it flourish? Right? It would have to exist first, right? A flourish version of the I. So it's saying, look, it came out of the letter I. It's flourishing out of the letter I. So there was no J. It was just an I, and it flourished out of the I. Right? And they basically put the extension, the hook part, and then gave it a sound. You know, creating the 23rd letter, right? Because it's supposed to be 23. It was really only supposed to be 22 letters in the alphabet, right? But because he extended that, right? There was a point I was going to make. Yeah. So saying that the extension between the two wasn't embraced until, right? Because you added it, right? Showing that you're the devil, right? Even in this, you're embellishing that it flourished and it came from it, and it didn't exist. But it's saying it as if it did exist, and he just made a distinction between it. You know what? All these years, no one knew the difference between this. But I'm just gonna come up, and this is the difference. And then it's gonna take another 100 and something years for someone to go, oh, you know what? We need to adopt that because that's where it's at. No, this is the rebirth of Esau to bring confusion, right? So that show you, the Lord said, let no man deceive you, right? Because Gian or Ian Giorgio Trissino is just a man. He created that letter J out of the I. That's why I said it flourished out of the I. It never existed, but they're saying they set it up to differentiate. But if it flourished out of it, and it's an extension of the I, which you put the little hook thing on it, out of the I, you created it. It didn't exist. But, the devil being the devil, right? That's why the Lord said, don't let him deceive you. For many shall come in my name, right? Or change his name, right? Change it from, because if you wanted to break it down in English, it would be Joshua. It wouldn't be this thing right here, right? It would be Joshua, which in the Hebrew is Yahawashi, right? For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Hamashiachim, saying, they have the unction from the Holy One and they know all things, and deceive many. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right? So these are the things that's gonna happen. Nation against nation. For nation shall rise against nation, Slakia, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be what? Famines, and that's already happening in the world right now. And pestilence, that's already happening. And earthquakes, right? Just seeing the videos of all these different earthquakes and the rising of nation against nation. America against Russia. Ukraine against Russia. Israel against Iran. Right? I believe you even got these. There's a couple other little wars and think, man. Hey, race wars, right? You got the you know. So earthquakes in diverse places, right? You just seen that the guy brought it all out. Yes, all these are the beginning of sin of sorrows, right? Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And that's the time of the end, right? Because everybody's coming up against the so-called, what they call black Hebrew Israelites, even other Israelites, even you know, they'll say these camps, they'll say the black Hebrew Israelites, when I mean there's no such thing as a black people, no, like that. We're brown and we're the Israelites, period, right? Yeah. So this second Ezra chapter 9 verse 1, and he answered me then and said, measure thus the time, right? The age, time, diligently in itself, and when thus seest part of the signs pass, which I told thee before. In fact, I wonder if we can. Second Ezra chapter 8 verse 62 says, these things have I not showed unto all men, right? So, you know, a lot of people don't understand what's going on, you know, even though we break it down, you know, but it's not meant for everybody. But unto thee and a few like thee, right? So it's really only for the elect to understand. It says, then answered I and said, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention, O Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, now has thus shewed me the multitude of wonders which thou wilt begin to do in the last times. And so we're at the last times, right? But what time thou hast not showed me, right? And he's basically said, it says second Ezra chapter 9 verse 1, and he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thus seest part of the signs, the tokens, signs, pass, which I have told thee before, then shall thus understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest, right, the Most High Yahweh, right, through his only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, will begin to visit the world which he made, and he made the world through his Son, right, and the 144,000, right. Says, therefore, when there shall be what earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, right? And you're having that, right? You're having these different uproars of the people in Germany, in France, and now you're having a big one in Washington D.C. You know, Trump is saying that people agree with the military being there, and there's a large amount of people from D.C. Protesting against the military being there. But he's saying he's going to put the military in every city soon, right? So we know things is not looking good. So you're going to have uproars of the people in the world. Then shall thus well understand that the Most High spake of those things through his only begotten Son, right? Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning, right? The Lord declares the end from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world, right, has a beginning, right? See, showing you about that word age, right? This is going to give you the definition of that word age, right? Or what did it call it? Let me go back to it real quick.
Strong's G 165. Ion.
So when you have
Ion.
that word ion, right, which really goes to age, right? Right? Because the best definition would be a period of time, age. That's the best definition for it, right? Yeah, so basically now it's going to basically give you a breakdown with it again, basically. It says, then shall thus well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, and even from the beginning, right? Do it again. It says, like as all that is made in the world, so everything that's made in the world have a beginning and an end. See? So that's the age, right? The ion, or whatever, however they want to say it, right? And the end is manifest. So this thing is it's manifest. It's right before your eyes. It's evident, right? Even so, the times also of the highest have plain beginnings, right? In wonders and powerful works, and the ends in effects and signs. See? So these are all telltale signs of the end, right? Might as well keep going, huh? And everyone that shall be saved, right, which is dealing with the elect, shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, right, whereby ye have believed, right? And that's really only the elect as believed, and they're only predestined to be saved. Yeah, so this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 58. But we, thy people, right, which are the Israelites, you so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian, of Indian and Negro descent, and you Israelite foreigners around the world who phenotype may look like another nation, right? And then some of you still look like Negroes, still look like Latinos, but you don't know your mind. You're in the Gentile state of mind, or you look like a Gentile, so therefore you think you're a Gentile. And either way it go, you're in the Gentile state of mind. And some people look like other nations. Their phenotype look like another nation. But, you know, maybe their spirit is stirred up within this truth. And you could come in and be in this truth. And maybe you might be the elect. Who knows? But that's just, you know, that's that's for to be determined by Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So it says, has thus called thy firstborn, right? That's what he told Pharaoh. Release them, for they are my firstborn, so they need to worship me. And that's where we're in the condition now. We're in America, which is spiritually Egypt, and his firstborn needs to be released to worship him in spirit and in truth, right? Say thy only begotten, right? Which really Yahweh Shai, but we're also as a nation known as the Lord's only begotten, right? And thy fervent lover are given unto into their hands, right? We're under the hands of Esau. Esau is is ruling, right? Esau's the end of this world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So Esau is in rulership. We're in their hands right now. You know? So the whole thing is, when is this coming? When is this coming to an end? And if the world now be made for our sake, seeing which the Lord made the world for the Israelites' sake, as his chosen people, his fervent lover, his firstborn, his begotten, right? You mean he didn't make the world for his firstborn, for his fervent lover, for his only begotten? Come on now, that don't make sense, right? Which even the script, if you go up one, it says that he made the world for our sake, for the Israelites' sake. It says, for our sake, why do we not possess the inheritance with the world, right? Because this world is about to pass away. So we don't need the inheritance with this world. We're waiting on the world to come, right? How long shall this endure, right? Yeah, so this is Luke chapter 5, verse 36. And he spake also a parable unto them. No man putteth a piece of a new garment upon old, right? Because this ion, right, or age, right, is it's the end of it. It's done. You know what I mean? Right? You're not looking forward to having your peace in this world, right? But in the world to come, right? So no one puts a new garment upon an old, if otherwise, then both the new maketh a rent, right? It'll rip, and the piece that was taken out of the new agreeth not with the old garment, right? The material is just it's not compatible, right? And this world, right, it's not compatible with the world to come. It's definitely not compatible with the elect, right? I mean, continuing on, 37, Luke 5 and 37, no man putteth new wine, right? Because this is going to be a, the Lord said, in spirit and in truth, right? Esau's wine is lies, right? It says that he's a proud man, and he transgress by his wine, by his doctrines, by his philosophies. He transgress, right? So this is going to be a new wine. You can't mix a wine that's full of lies and that transgresses the laws of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and mix it with the laws that don't transgress the laws of the Most High, right? It's just not going to mix. Put a new wine into old bottles. Either the new wine will burst the bottle and be spilt, and the bottle shall perish, right? So you're just not going to do that. But the new wine must be put in new bottles, right? So the new kingdom must be, alone, new bottle, new wine, alone, right? And both are preserved, right? Yeah, so this is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 13. Nevertheless, we according to his promise, right? And those are the things that he was saying to Esdras, These are the things that must have happen. And also Yahweh Shai said it in Matthew 24, right? And we have to agree, and according to his promises, look for new heavens and new earths, right? So we're not thinking that we're gonna have a part within this, in this kingdom, in this world, in this, you know, this age, right? This aeon, right? Right? Eon or aeon, however they want to say it, with we're within dwelleth righteousness, right? We're going to look for a new heaven and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness, not lies, not where your wine transgress, right? It says, wherefore, beloved, right? Which are the Israelites, right? Fervent lover, beloved, it's the same thing. It's being a fervent lover, right? Favor, right? Seeing that ye look for such things, be diligent that ye may be found of him in peace, without spot and blemish. It's called Halayim, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well, to the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father, and have come back to the fold, Shalom, to you sisters, your Achwathiim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence, and a Bible ball, and Kwam Yasharallah, a Bible ball.